Welcome to Fathers and Daughters, a podcast where we discuss important topics and current issues from a biblical perspective that are relative to fathers and daughters.
Please subscribe and email us at fdpodcast@yahoo.com with questions or episode topic suggestions.
So, hello.
Hello.
So, my name is Ricardo.
My name's Belle.
And we are a father and
a daughter. I didn't know if you were going to let me say I'm the daughter or not, but
you are
fine.
My daughter.
I am your daughter. Welcome to our podcast. We have no idea what we're doing or how we're going to do it, but we decided one day, we were like, hey, we have a really unique, healthy relationship.
Most of the time.
Thanks.
Right?
I guess. And I think our idea was, how can we use this to help other relationships between a father and a daughter be as successful as I think we've turned out to be.
I think we've done a pretty good job.
I think so too.
I mean, I'm 45, you just turned 21.
Yep.
And,
I didn't just turn 21. I'm going to be 22 in like a month and a half, bro.
Oh, that's important.
2 months.
Yeah.
But
at my age, the younger you are, the better.
I know. I was going to say, are you really 45? You've been lying to me for years and you're secretly like 53.
So we've been doing this for a while, I guess. And I think in the process, we've picked up some pointers and we've made some mistakes and we've learned a lot. And our goal is to share our experience and talk about topics that a lot of dads and daughters don't really talk a lot about.
Or don't even know how to talk about. I think that's the significant part, is that actually doing it is just the hard part. Like thinking about having these conversations, but it's actually like just knowing how to have a good, healthy conversation with your dad or with your daughter is so hard, because that relationship is missing so much in today's society, of having a healthy conversation between a father and a daughter.
I agree.
So that's kind of like why we're doing this. We're just trying to get it out there, and it's something fun we get to do together, and we both live such crazy lives, so to be able to just spend an hour or so just sitting down and planning and actually recording is probably going to be really good for us too.
Yeah. Actually, this was a plan because you're gone so much, because you're so busy, that I'm like,
making me feel horrible about
what
it.
am I going to do to tie her down for about an hour every weekend? Yeah. No,
Gee,
but
thanks.
I'm excited about this. We'll see what we come up with. Before we go any further, let's tell our listeners, those who don't know us, a little bit about ourselves and who we are. So,
okay, I'm going to ask you some questions about you.
Okay.
What do you do for a living?
So I do many things for a living. My main job is I am a tax collector. And just reading the Bible gives me comfort, because God even loved the tax collectors.
Yeah, I did.
And I've been doing that for a while, and I enjoy it. I'm also a DJ, or we are DJs, because we own a business called Musket Entertainment, and we've been doing that as father and daughter for over 14 years. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like I'm always busy doing something.
What's a really cool hobby that you have?
I don't know if I should disclose that right now, but
you make it sound like it's a really bad thing.
I don't know. I think it's just kind of silly, but it's just something that has been in my life ever since I was a little kid. So I collect Mickey Mouse stuff.
That's a good word for
it. Mickey Mouse stuff. And ever since I was a little kid, I've liked Mickey Mouse, and I remember getting Mickey Mouse gifts when I was growing up, and that just stayed with me. And I think it reminds me a lot of just being a kid. And we've been fortunate enough to live close to Disneyland.
Heck yeah.
And Disneyland and Disney stuff has been a big part of our lives and how we spend time together.
Cool.
But that's a good quick
brief
intro. Also, God is a big part of our lives, and I think He's the reason why we're still a family. Your mom and I just celebrated 23 years of being married, and you're not in jail, you haven't done drugs, and you're not pregnant. So
that's a win.
So I mean, that's a win, but I don't think it's just everything we've done, but everything that our church family and God has done in conjunction with the work we put into,
Sure.
all that is important. So, all right. You also have a brother who has autism, and I'm sure we'll talk about him during one of these podcasts or throughout the podcast. So now let's learn a little bit about you. We said you were 21.
I am 21. I will be 22 in November.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 months from now. I'm really stoked about that.
What do you do for a living?
I too do many things. I was a in-home nanny for a year in a foreign country. I'm sure we'll dive into that at some point too. I currently work for Sandals Church, which has been my home church for 21 years. And I am a summer camp coordinator. So pretty much like whenever we send kids up to summer camp, I help do all the things that encompass that. I guess that's a really good way of saying that. So like all the pre-planning and stuff, that's all me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What, other than work, what's important for you?
Other than work?
Yeah. Like what do you like to do for fun?
I like to go out with friends. That's like huge for me. I just love being out with people. I am half introvert, half extrovert. So, and I took the test and the line is literally down the middle. It is 49-51 and in favor of being an extrovert. So I'm slightly more extroverted, but I love my alone time. I love to just kind of curl up in bed with some candles and a notebook and just chill for a little while.
Yeah.
But I love going out with friends. Sometimes we'll go to, a salsa dancing place and we'll go salsa dancing, or we'll just drive to Disneyland and spend 4 hours at Disneyland and riding rides and pretending we're 4 again,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like to go out with friends. I don't collect anything weird or obnoxious.
You just help me.
I see things and I just buy them for you. So I guess I'm helping to your addiction.
Yeah. See, it's a family thing.
It's a family thing. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm sure like you said, I'm sure we'll learn a lot more as time goes on. But yes, we're both very heavily involved in church. Mm-hmm. I really value time with, my church people. Like, it's just such an amazing influence, and I've had church around me my whole life. So I think when we were talking about doing this podcast, really bringing into an account of a biblical perspective. If you're not a Christian and listening to this podcast, please don't feel like this podcast isn't for you. This podcast is also going to be about a lot of important current events, a lot of current topics that are just happening in the world around us. And regardless if you love Jesus or you've had that encounter and don't want to talk about it anymore or whatever, like, don't think this podcast isn't for you. We are going to talk about the Bible and how it kind of plays a role into how we live our lives, because that is part of our lives and it is something we are going to talk about. But we are going to talk about a lot of other current issues as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. We're going to share a little bit about what our experience has been as we learn to walk with Jesus, but I don't want people to think this is going to be a Bible study. We may introduce Bible verses that may support what we're talking about, but you're right, this is not just for Christians, it's for everyone. Mm-hmm. Because we both learned techniques or tricks of how to be a good dad and daughter that can help everyone,
or just a good person. Like, regardless, being a good sibling or being a good husband. I think that's kind of where this podcast plays into our lives.
Yeah.
So we'll always put this out there. If you do have questions about the Bible or Christianity, please feel free to send us an email. We'd love to sit with you individually and have that conversation in depth, for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's just kind of like where the whole Bible thing stands, because I'm sure for a non-believer to be like, oh my gosh, they're talking about the Bible, is probably quite a turnoff for some people, and we don't want it to come off that way. And also, too, if you're not a father to a daughter, or you're not you don't know your dad, and you're a woman, like, please don't think this podcast isn't for you. Like,
right.
This is a conversation between a father and a daughter, and it's about life events. Because if you're a man who's never had a daughter, this could even help you be a good dad to a son, or even be a good husband. And if you're a girl who doesn't know her dad, this could help, know what kind of husband you want one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, this podcast is really for everybody. Yeah. It's just fun. It's lighthearted. We'll probably make lots of jokes.
Yeah. I'll try not to cuss.
Thanks.
I don't cuss a lot, but sometimes it comes out.
But it's fun. We want to tell stupid stories about crazy things we've done. Mm-hmm. Probably a lot will be unveiled in this podcast, which I'm kind of excited for.
That's okay. I have no personal space, and I'm pretty open about life.
I think
right?
that's taught me to be such an open book too. Like I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to know something, I'm not going to hide anything. I'm kind of an open book. I'm ready to just kind of unleash that. So
yeah, I think you're right about, even if there's people out there who are not fathers or daughters, a lot of the communication and relationship stuff that we have learned and that we're going to share applies to everyone.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. A couple disclaimers here. We don't have a audio studio. So we are recording from my home office. So here and there you may hear
a doorbell
or some sounds, that professional podcasters may not have.
Hey, we might get there one day.
I don't know. But I don't know. I think this is even more fun than being all uptight, with the...
We'll see.
Okay. All right.
You want to start with a game? I have a fun game.
I thought we were going to finish with the game.
Okay, fine. Finish with the game.
No, okay.
No, it's cool. I feel insulted. It's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so this is our pilot, right? We just want to talk a little bit about ourselves and what this podcast is going to be.
Heck yeah.
I think we will pick a specific topic that we are going to talk about next week. Mm-hmm. And each week after that. What do you think our next topic should be?
Well, let's tell them a little bit about what topics we have, like what to expect. So we created this list together of things we definitely want to be talking about. So I'm going to read a few of them. So, oh, wow. The first one you have on here is sex.
Well, I wrote those, but they're not in any specific order.
I hope not, because that's really jumping it. I mean, I appreciate that.
Well, I just think there's a lot of dads and daughters who don't talk a lot about sex.
I agree. It's just jumping head first. I kind of like it. So dating, fashion, marriage, missions, which I think I'm really pumped about that.
Yeah.
Autism.
Fashion should be a fun one too.
Fashion should be really fun one too. Social media, suicide, alcohol, work ethic, all these things. So, and if you have suggestions on what we should talk about, please send us an email. Let us know, hey, or my dad and I went through this, or my daughter and I went through this. How would you go about it? What would you do? What's your perspective? We want to know all of those things. So I think it'd actually be really fun. We should start with fashion.
Really?
Yeah, let's start with fashion. Let's just kind of dive in. Yeah, I actually really like that one.
And if you email us, we may not have all the answers, but maybe getting involved in a discussion may help
fuel some of that.
Yeah. So
and we're willing to do our research too. Like if there's something we have absolutely no idea about, we're totally willing to do some research, talk to some experts. Not that there's anyone who's really an expert on how to have a good, healthy relationship with your father or your daughter, but I'm sure there's people who are farther along in life than we are, or have gone through more than we have, that might have different answers, and we're willing to do our research too.
And even if you don't have a question, if you just have a topic that you as a father and a daughter have experience or have done good at, just send us your story, because we can always learn from all these stories.
Oh, yeah.
Right? All right. So
and if you bring up a topic and it's a heated discussion, you'll just get to encounter us yelling at each other. It'll be great.
We rarely yell at each other.
Rarely. It does happen.
Okay, so we are going to finish with the game, right?
Yeah.
All right. Or you want to do it now?
No, we'll finish with the game.
Let's finish with the game. Okay.
You made that very clear.
All right. So this week I came across this article from the Institute for Family Studies, and is by a writer. Her name is Linda Nielsen. And the title is How Dads Affect Their Daughters into Adulthood. And I was just doing a little bit of research to see what's out there. Mm-hmm. And the information that I found here didn't really surprise me. But there are some things in here that I think are very important and that are worth sharing, just so people understand what we're trying to talk about and why that relationship is very important. One of the things that this article says is that it says a girl who has a secure, supportive, communicative relationship with her father is less likely to get pregnant as a teenager and less likely to become sexually active in her early teens. Right? What do you think about that?
It's hard out there.
I mean, you work with youth girls,
I
right?
work with youth girls. So those of you who don't know, I serve at our church in our youth ministry, and I am a D group leader, which is like a community group or a support kind of environment for sophomore girls. And just what's out there today is hard. I mean, guys are cute, don't get me wrong, but just the social pressure of needing to perform a certain way or act a certain way or talk to specific people is rough out there. And I think it stems from one thing of wanting the attention and the really just wanting the attention of a guy is what's really big. But knowing that I had that to come home to from someone who was stable and, well, as far as I knew, was stable, was supportive, was encouraging, was affirming, meant more to me than, seeking after the love of some guy at high school. Because honestly, as an adult, like, I'm having a really hard time dating. And it's because I have these standards for myself and for my future marriage and for my kids to marry a guy who's going to be affirming and encouraging and stable and supportive towards me. But yeah, it's tough out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about dating.
Yeah.
And
I'm so excited for that podcast.
Yeah, I can't imagine dating.
I'll get to explain to all my friends who are listening as to why I was the weird girl who didn't date. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Another thing that this article says is that well-fathered daughters are the most likely to have relationships with men that are emotionally intimate and fulfilling. It says, as a consequence of having made wiser decisions in regards to sex and dating, these daughters generally have more satisfying, more long-lasting marriages. It says, what is surprising is not that fathers have such an impact on their daughters' relationships with men, but that they generally have more impact than mothers do. We're not saying that mothers are not important, but I believe, and I think you believe, that it is very important to have a good relationship with your dad.
I think it's biology, to be totally honest with you, like why men are attracted to women and women are attracted to men. Like, it's different seeking the approval of someone who's the same sex as you. And we'll get into this when we talk about gender roles and gender identity a little bit later on in a few weeks when we kind of get to that topic. But especially as the Bible kind of lays it out as this relationship between Adam and Eve, that started that biological chain of men wanting the attention of women and women wanting the attention of men. And whatever kind of relational state that they may be in, a father and a daughter is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, wanting the attention of a man. I think it goes both ways though, and you can totally attest this and tell me if I'm wrong. But I think it's different when your daughter shows you love and attention. I think that holds something a little bit special too, and that might give some more power or motivation backing it. You know?
It also says here that their better relationships with men may also be related to the fact that well-fathered daughters are less likely to become clinically depressed or to develop eating disorders. Interesting, huh?
It's all about affirmation. Women are such words of affirmation people. That when you're being affirmed by your dad that you're beautiful, and like that goes such a long way. And it just makes me want to scream it at some of these dads when I see them, disrespecting their daughters or things like that. I'm like, dude, you don't know how impactful that is to her.
Yeah.
Even just when, like, I was in the grocery store the other day and I saw a man and a little girl. So I'm going to assume that they were father and daughter. And she kept wanting to talk to him and wanting to get his attention. And he used these words, and I broke out into tears because I was so upset by it. And he kept saying, "Stop bothering me. Stop bothering me. You annoy me." And I wanted to smack him and be like, "You don't understand the impact your words are making on her life.
Yeah.
That is going to go so much further than you ever think it could."
Yeah.
Like, words mean a lot, and especially for women, we are very much words of affirmation people and need that affirmation that you're beautiful, that you're loved, that you're kind, that you're, all of these things are so, like, I don't think men get it as much. And it makes me want to scream it at them. Like, that goes so much farther than you ever think it could.
Yeah, and if we as dads don't do a good job of doing that, you guys are going to get it from the world.
Yeah. Or we're going to try and find it elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
What else did you find?
And lastly, it says most daughters also wish their fathers had talked with them more about sex and relationships, even though the conversations would probably have been uncomfortable at first.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I don't think we had trouble engaging in uncomfortable conversations.
You didn't have trouble engaging in uncomfortable conversations.
Did that make
Being
you
on the
uncomfortable?
receiving
Did that make you
end of your
uncomfortable?
sex talk was not fun. I'm sure you giving it was like more than fine. Being on the receiving end of that, not fun.
I was totally fine with it.
Yeah, I know. I was not.
Well, I had
That's
to.
not your fault. Like, it's a
No.
product of the conversation. Regardless of how you word it, it's going to be awkward.
It is.
There is, if someone can present to me the easy way to have the sex talk, I'd love to hear it. To where it is comfortable for both parties, love to hear it. But it's uncomfortable. It's weird. And that's not a reason to run away from it. It's a reason to run towards it.
Well, I think most people make it more uncomfortable than it should be, right? I mean, it's natural.
It's natural, but that doesn't make it any less weird. It's just a weird thing to talk about. And we'll get into this when we get on the subject of sex, because I am more than excited to start to break down how you explained things to me.
I thought our talk was awesome.
Yeah, the picture books were so... That was like the cherry on top.
It was so clinical.
That's not the word I'd use, but sure.
Well, but for the record, the pictures I showed you were...
They weren't like pornographic. They were... Yes, I guess clinical is the right word.
Okay.
Well, now that we've like kind of cleared that air, you want to play a game?
Yeah, let's play a game.
Okay. Okay, so I created this game. So there's like get to know you questions.
Okay, so before you do that, can we tell people that when you were little, we used to call you Hasbro?
No, you can't tell people that. I hate
We already
that.
did.
Oh my gosh.
Because you used to come up with all these games.
You know what? It's
And that
made me
hasn't
good at
stopped.
ministry. All right.
It has. It's good. You're
Moving
welcome.
on. Okay, so I'm going to ask a series of questions.
Okay.
And you have to answer these questions for me, and I have to answer these questions for you, and then we'll
Okay.
evaluate if we're correct or not.
Okay.
Okay? All right. What's your biggest complaint about your job? So I'm going to answer for you. I think the answer is that you can't retire quick enough. I mean, granted, you do get to retire in 4.5 years. I don't feel like that's quick enough, and I think that's your biggest complaint about your job. Am I right?
I talk about retirement a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't like my job, because for having to have a job, my job is the best. I think I'm trying to figure out my bigger purpose in life, which I think is to do something related to ministry. And my job is very limiting when it comes to doing ministry.
Sure.
So I think I'm very excited about retirement because I get the opportunity to do something new.
Sweet.
Okay, so now I have to guess about you.
It's my biggest complaint about my job.
Your biggest complaint about your job is that you wish you could do that 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. I was literally going to say that camp isn't year round. And you pretty much got it.
Yeah.
Like if camp could be every other week, I'd be the most excited person in the world.
I know you love your job, but you only have 24 hours a day, and you're not going to be working 24 hours a day. But you love your job so much that you would be okay if that was what you did every day, every hour.
I'm so lucky. That's so cool.
You are, and I love to see you enjoying your job.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live? So I have to answer for you first.
Okay.
I would say it'd have to be somewhere either deep in the mountains or near a beach, but secluded enough to where you didn't have neighbors.
Yes. So I prefer the beach. I don't know if I like the mountains too much because I've never really spent a lot of time in the mountains. But I think being in the mountains just creates this sense of just separation from the world.
Fair.
And connection with nature. I feel a little bit like that too about the beach. I really enjoy the beach. If I could live anywhere right now, it would be in Hawaii in a little house by the beach. But I know that would get old.
Yes, you'd. I feel like you could be comfortable there for like 6 years max, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I'm done. Now where?"
Yeah.
You know?
Because when I meet people that live here that came from Hawaii, I just want to ask, what are you doing here? Right? Why did you leave
Why'd you
paradise?
leave?
But a lot of them say, well, it just gets old. You get island fever or
Yeah,
whatever they call it. And I think I would feel like that after a while.
that's fair.
Yeah. For you, I think you would want to live somewhere in the city, like New York City.
Oh yeah,
You
to
love
own
the
like a
city life.
downtown loft would be so like a loft just downtown in a metropolitan area would be great. But like you said, I couldn't live there forever. I could
Uh-huh.
only live there for a certain amount of time because then I would get, city fever or
Yeah.
whatever you're gonna call it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good guess.
Good. Do we have another one?
List your biggest pet peeve.
My biggest pet peeve. Oh, I need to answer for you.
I'm gonna answer for you first.
Okay.
So your biggest pet peeve. I don't want to say the biggest because I don't feel as though they're like ranked, but I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna say a big pet peeve for you is non-disciplined children who act out in public.
Yes. I think I've worked hard on being a good parent, that I have a low level of patience for parents who do not think that training and disciplining their children at an early age is important. I also think that
But you do like kids.
I like some kids.
There it is.
I don't know. It's hard with you guys being grown up now to go back to interacting with little kids. Like
Sure.
I don't think I could have another infant right now. Another reason why I don't do well with misbehaved kids is because that was one of the things that used to trigger your brother. And I learned to move Ryan away from those situations, that I think it just gives me PTSD to when he
Like,
was little,
yeah.
whenever I hear a kid crying or have that high pitch sound, you know?
Sure. That's fair.
For you, I think one of your pet peeves is when people are not organized.
110% true.
Yeah?
Like I hate messy cars. Oh my gosh. I have people in my life who like live out of their cars and I love them. And like some of them are the most amazing people in the world. I'm like, how do you live this way? Yeah, I don't know. Like people who like do science experiments with like old Starbucks cups in their cars. I don't get that, man. Like, what are you trying to grow? So yeah, being messy is definitely a huge pet peeve of mine. When people are messy or disorganized, I'm like, oh man, how do you function in life, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. Okay, I have one more.
Sorry, I think I passed that down
Oh,
onto
you definitely passed that down.
People at work say that I have the cleanest office.
People say I have the cleanest everything.
No way.
Twinning. Okay, I have one more question.
Same seas.
If you were to go to a karaoke bar and they said you could sing any song in the universe, what song would you sing?
Oh, jeez. Well, okay. Ooh, I want to answer for myself, but
Okay, well,
I can't.
can
Okay.
I answer for you
Sure.
and then you can answer for me?
Sure.
Oh gosh, this is tough because I feel like there's a lot for you, like because you're such a lover of music
Uh-huh.
and you love every genre of everything. So like having to narrow down, like most people's dads are like, oh, my dad likes punk rock, or my dad's like an old country person. I'm like, my dad pretty much likes everything.
Yeah.
We've gone to a rave together. We've gone to country music concerts together. We listen to everything and everything on the radio when we're over to the car together. So I'm gonna have to say I have to throw something that's Elton John in there. So I'd have to say Daniel
Oh.
by Elton John
Okay.
is probably my first choice. Or Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson.
I was going to say that for you.
Were you gonna say that for
Yes. Totally. Totally.
Okay, well, sorry.
Okay.
We both love that song, so that's
Yeah.
that's really funny.
I don't have a good singing voice, and I'm not very good at remembering lyrics. So, Daniel by Elton John is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
Since You've Been Gone, we both love that song. But the song that I would sing at a karaoke bar would be Rico Suave by Gerardo. I think Rico Suave, because it allows me to use my Spanglish.
Oh
Right.
my gosh. That's
funny. And I know almost all the lyrics to it.
That's really funny.
So, I don't know. I think it's just natural.
Cilantro.
Sí.
Like, I just
Mi nombre es Ricardo.
Oh, that's funny.
See?
Okay.
So, but for you, the song that I would pick would be Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson.
That's definitely on there, for sure. I have like a top 3 of like karaoke songs of all time. So for sure, Since You've Been Gone. Can't sing it, but just an amazing song. And I definitely do like my air electric guitar for the solo. Hit Me One More Time by Britney Spears. Super good. But the all-time best would have to be Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus.
Okay.
I just have to... Or something Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, it's Hannah Montana. Before she became all skanky and gross. I just... Just gotta love her, man.
Yeah. So, Miley Cyrus, if you're listening, there was a period of time where you were skanky and gross.
I hope you and Billy Ray are listening to this together.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about how you can improve your relationship now that you're divorced. I love you. Would love to meet you and get a picture one day, but let's talk about your problems with your dad.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So this has been our first episode of Fathers and Daughters.
I hope you guys enjoyed getting to know us a little bit. We'll be back next week with the topic of
fashion.
So once again, if you guys have any questions, comments, or want to send us your story,
or
email
episode
us.
Suggestions.
Yeah, email us at fdpodcast@yahoo.com.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Until next time, goodbye. Thank you for listening to the Fathers and Daughters podcast, a Musket Entertainment production. For questions, comments, or topic ideas, email fdpodcast@yahoo.com. Please subscribe and tune in every week for new episodes.